Okay, hello everyone. This, this is Dr. Garrett Smith of the Nutrition Detective Love Your Liver live stream. And I wanted to thank Truth Blast Broadcasting. I saw a post where he typed out my normal intro and just made me laugh. And now I couldn't say it right today. So anyway, thanks for that. So, welcome everyone. Episode 88. It is April 7th, 2023. And we have some fun stuff to go over today. Those of you who regularly watch these things, I know some of you out there binge watch them, and I appreciate that. I really do. We usually go over common, not always, but common. We go over a testimonial, which we got today. And then we go over something research, history stuff based to kind of show you how they've been maybe lying and poisoning us all for a very long time. And then we get into subscriber Q&A. So just so you know, we do have super chats enabled. And if you want to get your question priority answered, we could say it that way. Super chats will get you to the top of the pile. Okay. And I don't always get to a lot of questions because, as you guys who are regulars here know, I get into detail on these things. There is one that I may get into the Berberine one. I forget who asked that one. TJ50 Mag asked about Berberine and why it's bad. And I would love to hit that question. I'm going to try to remember that one because there's a nice review study where they're like, yeah, this is terrible. It is yellow and it is bitter. So if you know anything about those patterns, yellow is a bad color in the natural world. It definitely is poison, and bitter marks poison. And if we talk about Berberine killing things, I just want you guys to always think about this. If something kills living things, whether it is parasites or bacteria or whatever, if you're taking something okay, as an example, we just had somebody in the office hours, which is my private troubleshooting Q&A place for people who work with me on the testing packages, the testing and consultation packages. She came in and she says, in my stool the other day, she's been doing the program for a little while now. And she's like, and I saw something that looked like a spaghetti strand that I think was a parasite that came out. Now, people can take all sorts of toxic crap that might kill parasites. But the thing you should definitely know about antiparasitics, if you start looking into them, even the natural ones, the black walnut hull and all this stuff, and you start researching liver injury with parasitic drugs or with parasitic herbs or other things like that, you will find that they are terrible for the liver. Should this be surprising? If it kills a living thing, don't we know pesticides are bad for us, right? They kill pests and they damage us too. Things that kill things are generally toxic. This should make sense. And then people will go, remember, the first two lessons that pharma and chemical industry shills and trolls learn, the first two sayings they learn is correlation is not causation and the poison is in the dose. Now, I'm not saying that there's no value in these, but they just repeat these things to try to shut down everybody else. When they say correlation is not causation, they're saying there's not enough research. Do you think the poison industries are going to do enough research to prove their stuff is poisonous? Do you think that's their goal? That's not their goal. Their goal is to hide the poisoning from you. And the poison is in the dose. Use that argument for mercury or lead or arsenic. And then start thinking, maybe the poison isn't in the dose. Maybe some things are just straight poison. And we only see symptoms when they get to a certain level. Like, what if you're being poisoned and all your symptoms is just a mild fatigue? But you don't think of it as, gosh, maybe it's the sushi I eat once a month, poisoning me with mercury and cadmium. The poison is not always in the dose. The symptoms of the poisoning are in the dose. How about that? So anyway, let's get into a testimonial, which is near and dear to my heart because I used to have seasonal allergies. and I don't anymore. And we had somebody post in the Love Your Liver program about, I'll put the link for those of you, I'll put the link, but if you're not a member of the Love Your Liver program, you're not going to get to see this because you have to be a member. But for those of you who are in it and want to see the link, there it is. It's in the live chat. So here we go. So this is a testimonial. This is not me, but I have seen my seasonal allergies go away. Here we go. Quote, by popular demand, here is my testimonial on how Love Your Liver and the vitamin A detox cured my seasonal allergies. Now, I'm going to say an aside here. He said this. I am only repeating the quote. I did not use the C word as a practitioner. Okay. Continuing, just for background, I'm a male in my 20s who joined Love Your Liver primarily to fix my nocturia, frequent nighttime urination. That has plagued me for the last 6 years. Now I'm going to do an aside here. I used to have that really bad too, and I fixed that too. So anyway, I've had associated fallout symptoms from this problem, including chronic fatigue and constant irritability. However, I've also had other minor health issues that may or may not be related, such as chronic tension headaches, intermittent nighttime nausea, and seasonal allergies. I've had seasonal allergies for as long as I can remember, and they were not just your run-of-the-mill pollen allergy. Imagine the worst seasonal allergies possible with severe reactions to not just pollen in the spring, but ragweed in the fall. One of my nicknames in elementary school was the trumpet because the constant honking of my nose sounded like there was a trumpet playing in the background. My nose was running and sneezing constantly that I would use an entire 150 count box of tissues in a single day. I tried everything to get relief. Naturally, these symptomatic remedies were just worsening my health in the background. I was on a dual regimen of Allegra and Zyrtec daily for several years. The potency of not just one, but 2 antihistamines likely did my liver in good and ended me up here. In spite of that, the antihistamines merely controlled my symptoms, never resolving them 100%. Further compromising my liver health was needing to go on prednisone several times per allergy season to shut everything down, when my immune system literally seemed to be in DEFCON 1, and I was absolutely miserable. My seasonal allergies were so bad, I wagered people to find someone worse than me. Itchy and watery eyes, constant sneezing, and constantly stuffy nose. It likely caused me some permanent damage, as I found out some time ago I actually have a moderate to severely deviated septum and several bone spurs in my nose. My quest to obtain relief didn't stop there. I also tried allergy shots. Did those for 6 years without any change whatsoever. Nasal sprays, even prescription ones like Patinase, hardly were able to touch my symptoms. Natural remedies like the neti pot could not provide any lasting relief. Nothing seemed to work, and I basically just accepted my seasonal allergies as a fact of life. That is until I found Love Your Liver and low vitamin A. I am 7.5 months into low vitamin A and just over 6 months into Love Your Liver. This past fall, my ragweed allergy was suspiciously quiet, but I didn't think much of it as it always paled in comparison to my pollen and spring seasonal allergies. However, we are currently in the midst of allergy season in full force with the nice coats of pollen dusting vehicles and other outdoor objects. And while everyone else suffers around me, there has not been a peep from my nose. For 2 consecutive days in a row, I walked around outside in excess of a half hour, certainly breathing in all sorts of pollen and allergens that I can clearly smell, and my seasonal allergies have not flared. Not even a little. This certainly would not have been the case last year or the year before that. It is truly amazing. I never imagined it was even possible. My thanks goes out to Garrett Smith for being able to move the needle on a health issue that 20 years of medical treatment couldn't touch or only provide me very short-term relief that was also costing me my liver. Looking at you, prednisone. I look forward to what the next 6 months of improvements holds, as I'll be a full year into Love Your Liver at that point. Hard to believe the improvements I've seen in only 6 months. Fixing my seasonal allergies was a big one, but my chronic headaches and sporadic nighttime nausea has also resolved. And while I'm still waiting on the nocturia to improve, I can say that my sleep has been moving in the right direction with a drastic increase in dreaming and REM sleep, REM sleep, that can only be positive for my health. So thank you again, Garrett Smith and the rest of the Love Your Liver community. And yes, I would not only be happy, but also honored to have this testimonial featured on the Love Your Liver live stream. Permission granted. So, okay. Very, very nice testimonial. And yeah, if you didn't see the last, it was 1 or 2 live streams ago where I went over all the research connecting childhood allergies to vitamin A given to kids in their youth. Allergies had always been a big problem of mine. And I remember as a kid, I was faithful. I mean, in terms of getting into the health field, like as a kid, I was the kid remembering to take my Flintstone vitamins. I made sure to take them. You want to know how weird I was as a kid? I taught myself to swallow pills on Flintstone vitamins because I saw my parents taking pills. My parents didn't take medications that much, or they would just take, a couple pills here and there. But I thought this is a skill I need to learn to become an adult, right? And so I started teaching myself on the Flintstone vitamins. And if you know anything about Flintstone vitamins, they are sharp on those edges. If you don't chew them, instead of chewing the Flintstones, I was swallowing them whole. And I taught myself how to swallow pills. And now I could swallow 50 pills at a time, but that's not my goal anymore. As those of you who do the Love Your Liver program know, we do use very specific supplements, typically individual pieces. We take a zinc pill or drops, selenium, molybdenum, each customized. If people are working with me, each customized to the person based on what their testing says and based on what their response is and based on how things are going when they do follow-ups with me. So for those of you who are working with me, if you're not coming to the office hours and you're not getting help tweaking it, you're missing out on the biggest part of this program that makes it different than everybody else. So I always encourage people to come to the office hours and get the fine-tuning that comes with your observations of how you feel on things. I've talked about that before here. So that was that. Now, one of the things I also talked about in the title of this video was vitamin D fortification killing babies. Did you know that this happened? This is something that happens. So here we have, who is it? Axis of Logos. He follows me on Twitter. Sends me great links. I just put that link in there. It is from scitechdaily.com. The title of it is Researchers Solve 80-Year-Old Vitamin D Medical Mystery That Claimed Infant Lives. I love it when people everywhere on the social media, they're like, vitamin D is amazing and everybody should be taking it. Nah, nah. There's a history of vitamin D fortification of foods killing infants. There's a reason why they use it in rat poison, people. Tera D3, Tera D3, and D-Con, D-C-O-N. These are mice and rat poisons, rodent poisons, that are the main ingredient. The ingredient of them is vitamin D. Weird. Kills infants, kills rodents. Let's go over some quotes from this. Scientists at the University of East Anglia have solved a long-standing medical mystery that causes kidney damage in children and can be fatal in babies. But how do they... Wait. Those with the condition are unable to metabolize vitamin D properly. This leads to an accumulation of calcium in the blood and causes kidney damage and the formation of kidney stones. Wait, let's just go over that real quick. So what I'm saying, what I've said about vitamin D science before is that I'm just not so sure about the vitamin D science. And let's just think about this. Let's use some logic. For those of you who are, let's say, conspiracy realists out there, if vitamin D was everything they said it was, would it be easy to get? No. If vitamin D supplements were everything they said it was, Would it be cheap? No. If vitamin D was great for us, would it be the only supplement that Fauci recommends? No. Are you seeing a pattern here? If vitamin D was good for animals, would it be used as rat poison? No. Does vitamin D accumulate in tissues? And therefore, small doses over a long period of time could then be chronically bad for you, just like large doses over a short period of time can be bad for you. Do you understand? It's just addition, right? If you bring in more of stuff that accumulates than your body gets rid of, you slowly build it up. Do we do this with fat soluble vitamins? Yes. Do we actually think that alcohols, OL, they end in OL, like cholecalciferol, which is the storage form of vitamin D, and that's what's in your supplements, and calcitriol, which is the active form of vitamin D, and which I've never seen a person deficient in their blood ever, calcitriol, 1,25 dihydroxycholecalciferol is what they call active vitamin D. Go try to find somebody who's ever been diagnosed as deficient in that. But here's the funny thing about 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol. I have found research that shows that it's commonly high in chronic disease. And here I am telling you that chronic disease involves calcification of your soft tissues. If you didn't know, when they find diseases on x-rays or CAT scans, what are those seeing accumulate in the tissue? It's calcium. Why do they do x-rays for broken bones? What are bones mostly made of? Calcium. When they do a mammogram, which is an x-ray of a breast, what do you think they're seeing on that mammogram? What is accumulating? Calcium. What does vitamin A toxicity cause to rise in the system? Calcium. Hypervitaminosis A and hypercalcemia. Look it up. What do vitamin D supplements cause in the system? Calcium goes up. What does copper toxicity cause in the system? High calcium, calcium deposits. Do you see a pattern? So let's go further into this article. So this long-standing medical mystery. This resulted, but first of all, so let's just talk about that. Wait, let's go back into this. These people in this article, they're saying they have a problem with metabolizing vitamin D properly. How can they have that and still live? Are you catching where I'm going here? How could they have a problem with metabolizing vitamin D properly and live? It's like when you hear the old, somebody says they're allergic to iodine. How could you be allergic to iodine? Then your own thyroid hormone would kill you. Does that make sense? T3 means there's 3 iodine molecules on the thyroid hormone. T4 means there's 4 iodine molecules on the thyroid hormone. If you were allergic to iodine, you'd be allergic to thyroid hormone. You would be dead. Doesn't that make sense? How could somebody not metabolize vitamin D properly and still be alive? You should be asking yourself that question. So here, let's continue. This resulted in a surge of infant fatalities during the 1930s and 1940s as a result of fortifying foods such as milk, bread, cereal, and margarine with vitamin D in an effort to eliminate rickets in children. Continuing. Recent research has shown that the condition, now known as infantile hypercalcemia type 1, is caused by a gene mutation. Let's keep going. But curiously, around 10% of patients experiencing symptoms do not have the genetic mutation. Wait, if they don't have the genetic mutation, why do they have problems? Is it the vitamin D? Maybe the rat poison coming in from outside. So, this really puzzled us, said lead researcher Dr. Dale Green from UEA's Norwich Medical School. So we wanted to find out exactly why this 10% appeared to have the condition. but without the gene mutation that was found to cause it. Let's continue. I'm going to skip a paragraph there, but then we go, the discovery that sunlight prevented rickets. Oh, wait, I've been over the study here. Let me go over the study. Let me find it on PubMed. Let's go PubMed, meat rickets. Found it. Meat, here it is. Let me find the paper. Meat consumption reduces the risk of nutritional rickets and osteomalacia. Meat consumption reduces the risk of nutritional rickets and osteomalacia. Weird, right? What does meat have to do with vitamin D? If you've seen my zinc deficiency, my vitamin A deficiency doesn't exist thread, let me find that on Twitter. Vitamin A deficiency doesn't exist thread. You'll find that vitamin A deficiency apparently is simply a meat deficiency. Hold on one sec. There's been a lot of crap in the air lately. I woke up this morning and I was coughing and I was going, what the hell's going on? My brother's like, I heard you coughing. And I was like, there's got to be something in the air. That was weird. So, meat consumption reduced rickets. And meat contains zinc and protein and taurine, which all seem to prevent so-called vitamin A deficiency diseases in the research. And I go over all that research in that Twitter thread. So, giving vitamin A, let's go back into this. The discovery that sunlight prevented rickets. So sunlight prevents rickets and meat prevents rickets. And meat prevents vitamin A deficiency diseases. And sunlight breaks down vitamin A in the skin. Are you seeing how this is all connected? So they say, led to the fortification of foods with vitamin D, which all but eradicated the disease by the 1930s. But outbreaks of vitamin D intoxication in infants led to fortification bans in many European countries by the 1950s. I'm sorry, are you saying that they banned fortification of foods with vitamin D because it was killing too many children? I believe that's what they're saying. Dr. Green said, quote, foods such as dairy products had been fortified with vitamin D, but it led to a number of baby deaths and was eventually banned in many countries except for in breakfast cereals and margarine. In 2011, researchers found that researchers found that some people are born with a mutation in the cytochrome P24A1 gene, which means that they cannot metabolize vitamin D properly. This causes a buildup of calcium in the blood, leading to kidney stones and kidney damage, which can be fatal, they're not saying it is, which can be fatal in babies. It was the reason why vitamin D fortified food in the 1930s caused intoxication in some people. Some people. But then there's that 10% of people who don't have the mutation. He continues, quote, today, some people do not realize they have a cytochrome P24A1 mutation until they are adults. How do they live? They have a problem with vitamin D metabolism. How are they still alive? After years of recurrent kidney stones and other problems. In most cases, these patients are screened to find out that they have the cytochrome P24A1 mutation, the disorder now known as infantile hypercalcemia type 1, or HCI-NF1. However, in around 10% of suspected HCI-NF1 patients, they do not display an obvious mutation in cytochrome P24A1 and continue to have lifelong problems without a proper diagnosis. What if they're just, I don't know, taking in vitamin D supplements, taking in excess calcium supplements, vitamin A toxic, copper toxic, all these things that cause an excess of calcium to accumulate. What if they're eating too many oxalates? All these things can cause calcium to accumulate. So let's see if there's anything else useful in here. Here we go. He said, quote, genetic causes of vitamin D toxicity. Wait. Genetic causes of vitamin D toxicity. Oh, so they're saying they can't process the vitamin D rat poison well enough. And so they're building up calcium that they're fortifying foods with for our health and safety. Genetic causes of vitamin D toxicity can be left undiagnosed for long periods well into adulthood, sometimes coming to light during pregnancy when fortification of mothers with vitamin D happens. Oh, you mean they're poisoning pregnant moms and their babies too? We also see patients with undiagnosed causes of recurrent renal stones who have had this condition for many years. I had a guy with recurrent kidney stones, and we stopped them from happening. Gosh, what did I do? Here we go. Treatment includes avoidance of vitamin D supplementation in subjects with the particular genetic abnormalities we have identified. Well, how about avoidance of vitamin D supplementation in the other 10% of people who don't have the genetic mutation? And how about in people who don't want to take rat poison? Here's what you do. You minimize vitamin A in your diet. You do not take vitamin D supplements. You get either sunlight or ultraviolet B light to tolerance as much as you can without either noticeable sun damage or skin damage from the light, or you don't feel bad. Those are the two things that you use to modulate your light exposure. You fix your magnesium levels, preferably with topical magnesium, and you correct your zinc deficiency. And I go over in my mega vitamin D thread the research on all of those, improving vitamin D levels in people, while theoretically they would also be improving their health without having to take rat poison. Get this. A beneficial side effect, this is a quote from that guy, same guy. A beneficial side effect to some antifungal medications, I believe he means azoles, includes alteration of vitamin D metabolism, lowering active vitamin D, which decreases calcium levels and can give patients a more normal quality of life, which we have started to prescribe to some patients, end quote. They're going to give people antifungal azole medications, which are known to cause liver injury because they lower active vitamin D levels. What did I just talk about? 125 dihydroxy vitamin D levels. Chronic calcification. If you are testing your vitamin D levels and you're testing the one that all the doctors learn to test, the 25 hydroxy vitamin D or 25 hydroxy cholecalciferol, you are testing storage form. If you're not testing 1,25 dihydroxy cholecalciferol, aka 125 dihydroxy vitamin D, also known as calcitriol, you don't know what your active vitamin D level is. And as I told you before, in chronic disease, it is common to see low storage form, the one that everybody measures, while there's very high active form, which is the stuff that is turning people into statues, such as kidney stones, as they are standing. If you're going to test vitamin D, really the only one you should test is 1,25 dihydroxy cholecalciferol, which I can tell you I have never seen a person deficient in my life. You want to know what taking vitamin D supplements can do to those? You ever know anybody, maybe it was you, who took vitamin D supplements and you didn't see your level go up hardly at all? Maybe it even went down. But you felt like hot garbage. You know what happened? That storage form wasn't changing, but your active form was going up and you were calcifying, which is what they were talking about in this article. Why they stopped fortifying foods with vitamin D, because it was killing babies. They still fortify it. Don't get me wrong. They still fortify it. And this problem is still going on. So, hope you all enjoyed that. So if anybody ever says, vitamin D's never killed people, well, apparently it was bad enough that European countries banned fortification of foods with it. And now they're putting it in some electrolyte drinks, some like hydration, sports drinks. Now they're figuring out how to put vitamin D into some sports drinks, and they are researching how to put it into the water. Doesn't. If they were putting rat poison in the water, you wouldn't think that sounds like genocide. That'd be weird. That would be weird, wouldn't it? Oh, here's a fun note. This site has now gone back into my old videos that are unlisted. They have never been public, and they have removed another one of my videos. No strike, thank goodness. But yes, they are going back through my old stuff and now slowly weeding it out, which is interesting. Just so you know, I do have a backup channel on Rumble. I do have a backup channel on what's the one? Odyssey. That Odyssey one is like very secondary. It just backs up the live streams from when it started, I believe. But we do have a backup on Rumble. We do have all these videos backed up. So, whatever happens, happens. Maybe we'll make a backup YouTube channel. I don't know. And we are now, these podcasts or live streams, whatever, they are now on Spotify. So if you like to listen to them or download them, they are now on Spotify. And we are currently putting them on iTunes. I will have the link down in the info below. So yeah, pretty cool. I have somebody helping me to do all this now. Next, when we figure it out, next will be to start doing shorter videos or clips of the videos and getting them out on TikTok and Instagram and all that fun stuff, all that social media nonsense. Boy, we have a lot of trolls and shills coming after us now. It's weird. Videos getting taken down and lots of trolls and shills, and must be damaging somebody's income somewhere. So let's see. That's all that. Let's get into the well, let me just go look for any super chats, and if there's no super chats, we'll get into the Berberine. Okay. I don't see any super chats, so let me go find that Berberine study. Berberine review. How do I find it? Let's go Berberine mutagenic PubMed. Let me see if I can find it. That's not the one I wanted. Oh, wait. I think we got it. Okay, yes, this is it. Let me put the link in there. Everybody loves Berberine. Here we go. Berberis vulgaris. The paper is called Toxicology Effects of Berberis vulgaris barberry and its active constituent berberine. A review. Okay. Berberis vulgaris and berberine, its main component, traditionally have been used for the treatment of various disorders. The pharmacological properties of them have been investigated using different in vivo, whole body, whole animal, and in vitro models, cell studies, right? In spite of beneficial effects of Berberis vulgaris on different cell lines, there are documents well, this is not written very well. There are documents have revealed negative impacts of it on animal and human. Well, let's see who wrote this. Yes, these are not native English speakers. In this regards, the determination of its toxicity in a scientific view is necessary. In current report, we provide classified information about the toxicity of Berberis vulgaris and Berberine in different conditions consist of acute, subacute, subchronic, and chronic state. Besides, it discusses the cytotoxicity, that's toxicity to cells, genotoxicity, toxicity to the genes, mutagenicity, toxicity to the DNA, and carcinogenicity, causing cancer, of Berberis vulgaris and Berberine, as well as developmental toxicity, those are called birth defects, and clinical studies. Data from the present study indicate that their toxicity is dependent on the route, if you like to say it that way, and duration of administration. Wait, the longer you take a poison, the more toxicity it causes? Poisons accumulate, especially maybe yellow ones in the liver? According to present study, they could induce GI upset, gastrointestinal upset, and ulceration, immunotoxicity, toxicity to the immune system, phototoxicity, which means you are more sensitive to light, neurotoxicity, toxicity to the nervous system, cardiotoxicity, toxicity to the heart, and jaundice in a dose-dependent manner. The poison is in the dose, or is it that the symptoms of the poison are in the dose? They should be used with caution in pregnancy because of birth defects, neonatal because babies are very sensitive, and G6PD deficiency. Besides, consideration should be taken in co-administration, taking it together, of berberine with drugs that are metabolized with cytochrome enzymes due to their inhibitory effects on these enzymes. I have told people here before that many herbs and many drugs, the very way they work is by slowing down your detox. They just said it inhibits cytochrome enzymes, which are kind of the last stage of detox of your liver. Got to be careful taking it with certain drugs because berberine slows down detox, so then you can build up too much of these other drugs that are known to be toxic too. Furthermore, they evoke cytotoxicity, cell toxicity on both normal and cancer cell lines, which is time and concentration dependent. This is where some people who aren't thinking, they go, but it's evoking cancer or toxicity on cancer cell lines. But right before that, they said it's evoking toxicity on normal cell lines. Remember, cancer cells are your cells. If you are engaging in a war on cancer, you are engaging in a war on your own tissues. Cancer is your body making new storage areas for the toxins that it has run out of storage areas for. This is why they are your own cells, and they don't behave like normal cells because they are cells made for storing toxins. They are storage cells. This is what cysts are. This is what lipomas are. This is what tumors are. They are your body making storage areas for toxins. So, there's your berberine. It's bitter. It's yellow. It shuts down your detox. It kills things. Not my go-to, we'll put it that way. This is the whole basis of much of alternative medicine and conventional medicine. It is to shut down what your body is doing naturally. Can this help you feel better? Absolutely, for a while. Just like with the testimonial earlier about seasonal allergies, you could take 2 drugs, Allegra and Zyrtec, and reduces symptoms most of the way. But he never got rid of the issue while damaging the liver and then doing prednisone and damaging the liver. And what are we doing here? We're fixing it. We're undoing all the damage. So he could get relief. It's a great example. You can take antihistamines. Now, the one thing that he did in all there that I do like, I want you to think about this. A lot of people get relief with a neti pot or with something I prefer better, which is the Neilmed sinus rinse or any other of those sinus rinses where you're rinsing out your nose, your nasal passages and your sinuses. I want you to think about what you're doing. You're rinsing out the pollen. What color is pollen? Yellowish, orangish. Weird. What color do I talk about poisons as? Yellowish, orangish, especially red. Red is the worst color in nature, just so you know. The most toxic things are red. Yet everybody loves tomatoes. A guy who I like, he follows me on Twitter and he sends me messages. He on Reddit, he went in an autoimmune subtopic. So autoimmunity, right? If you didn't watch last week's episode where I went over autoimmunity as toxicity, and I'm kind of, before I was the vitamin A toxicity expert, I was the nightshade expert. Nightshades, tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, eggplant. He specifically went into this autoimmune sub on Reddit and he did a quiz, a survey. And all it said was, do you eat Mexican food often? That was it. Now we're talking about American Mexican food. Before anybody comes in here and says, well, that's not what they eat in Mexico City, or that's not what, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about American Mexican food. It's like American Italian food. These are not traditional foods. What does American Mexican food have in it? Tons of tomatoes, tons of capsicum, peppers, whether they're spicy or not. So lots of vitamin A in there, lots of inflammatory nightshades. There can be potatoes, sure. It's not tons of them, but they can be there. In American Mexican food, there is tons of cheese and dairy, high vitamin A. It's a disaster. American Mexican food is a disaster for health. Funny thing that you should have seen the yes. Like eating Mexican food often. That was the question. Do you eat Mexican food regularly? Or it was often. I don't know if I forget which word he used. Something like 80% of them said yes. What a weird coincidence. And people will be like, well, that's not a scientific study. And I'm like, no one else is going to do this research. Jacko. Your diseases of today are caused by what is going into your body and what is not coming out of your body. Okay. I saw the super chat thing. We'll get to that. So that's it. Nightshades, tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, eggplant. Those are the biggest ones. And then there's things like goji berries. Oh, aren't they a superfood? Oh, they are so high in vitamin A. So high. Aren't they a superfood? No. I had a funny story. I knew about nightshades. And back before I did all this stuff, I think this was in my early days out of school. I was drinking this, I still did the whole consumer thing. I was at the store and I bought this thing called detox tea. I think it was a yogi tea. And it was detox tea, and I was like drinking it, thinking I was doing something good for myself. Isn't that what we all do? And I started noticing I was feeling tired and getting stiffer over time. And I was like, what is going on? And so I thought, what am I taking in my body? So I go and I look at the label of the detox tea. Now I knew goji berry was a nightshade. But on the back of the label, it said wolfberry. And then it said Lycium barbarum, I believe was the Latin name. And I was like, isn't that goji berry? And I go on the computer real quick and I look it up and I'm like, that's it. Damn it. Took that tea out over the next week or two. All the symptoms went away. If you are not well, You may have been poisoned from birth. I actually thought today, I was like, you know what? I never asked my mom, and I don't know if she'll have a great memory of it now, but I never asked my mom if I was jaundiced when I was born. I never asked her that question. If you may have been, if you were jaundiced at birth, your liver has been damaged since birth. All we can do is try to make it better from here. So many of us have been poisoned since we were very, very young, if not born with it. I want you to understand something. Genetic damage. This should make sense to people. If your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents did things to damage their DNA, that can get passed down. Okay, so the other thing that can get passed down, toxins accumulate. You can pass down toxicity generation to generation. So if you can pass down DNA damage and you can pass down accumulated toxicity, do you now understand why when people bring up, but people 100 years ago didn't have these issues? It doesn't matter. You're not your great grandpa. You don't live in that same world. You have accumulated 3 or 4 generations of modern toxicity. It's not the same game. Hope this makes sense. It should. Nobody wants to believe this because nobody wants to believe that they were born imperfect. It's like the whole lunacy of clean slate thinking. You're born as a clean slate. No, you are not in any way, shape, or form. The sins of the father have been visited upon all of us. And that can be toxicity sins as well, if you want to think of it that way. So let me find that super chat. Oh, I thought it was going to be Ramon. Hi. So it's Mina Hawash. Mina, thank you for the super chat very much. Is there any hope of vitamin A toxicity? Is there any hope? I think what you're trying to say, is there any hope for vitamin A toxicity patients? I consumed excessive amounts of vitamin A from vitamins and food. I feel like dying. Okay. Those of you in the comments who are in the process or have recovered from your vitamin A toxicity, which is many people now. You just heard, Mina, that testimonial from earlier. If you didn't, go back later and listen to the testimonial from before. Yes, it can be fixed. There are things that you can do as you're going through this to make you feel better. And there are mistakes that people make that can make them feel worse. We can definitely improve your situation. Like the gentleman who posted that testimonial that I read, he's been doing the Love Your Liver program. I think he said he was low vitamin A for 7.5 months, and he was on the Love Your Liver program, which is an expanded. If anybody thinks the Love Your Liver program is just vitamin A, just a low vitamin A diet, I'm sorry. You have that so wrong. It is, the scope of it is beyond what most people imagine when they come in. It's not just your typical internet. Like, it's so funny. I think of like most of the internet health stuff as like basic bitch health. It really, like, everybody's just repeating the same damn thing. Tudka's good for your liver. Somebody asked me that the other day, if Tudka is good for your liver. And I'm like, nope, absolutely not. Secondary bile acid produced by gut bacteria. Secondary bile acid is the most toxic thing. I helped fix a lady's liver by getting her off of Udka, which is simply Tudka without a taurine. Taking more bile is not the way to fix your bile problem. It could help SIBO. I've talked about that before. It could help SIBO, but it's not going to fix your liver. Taking more bile is not the way to fix your liver. So anyway, if you guys want to make comments down below about, what you've done, whether you've joined the Love Your Liver program and helped it, whether you've just done a low vitamin A detox stuff and helped it, or done Grant Generou's approach, I'm sure Mina would love to hear it. So please feel free to comment below, and Mina, go check those out. So, but yes, it can. When you say you feel like dying, I'm going to remind people 1974, New York Times. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Carrot addiction. Here, the title of the article was Carrot Juice Addiction Cited in Britain's Death. Britons, with it. Britons. A man who they called a scientist or a health food enthusiast, but they also called him a scientist in one of them. But let me just read this short little article. So what I'm getting at here is you feel like dying. Vitamin A taken in huge doses over a short period of time can absolutely kill people, as I'm going to go over here. London, February 16th, and this was 1974. A coroner's inquest here has found that the death of a 48-year-old health food enthusiast was caused by carrot juice addiction. The coroner's court heard evidence this week that Basil Brown, a scientist, had taken 70 million units of vitamin A in 10 days. In addition, he was drinking about a gallon of carrot juice a day during that time. His skin was bright yellow when he died. Dr. David Haler, the pathologist who performed an autopsy, said that the effect of the enormous intake of vitamin A from carrots and tablets was indistinguishable from alcoholic poisoning. It produces the same result, he said, cirrhosis of the liver. Indistinguishable from alcohol poisoning. Indistinguishable. People be like, that's synthetic vitamin A. No, it doesn't matter. The same retinol that scientists identify in liver is the same retinol that they reproduce synthetically. It's chemically identical, and I have shown the research as to how it functions exactly the same way in toxicity in the body. There is no difference. What people are talking about there is called an appeal to nature fallacy, where they're saying that if it's natural, it's better and less dangerous than the synthetic stuff. It's not true in the case of vitamin A at all. I mean, are people going to say that alcohol that they make in some sort of natural way is different than alcohol made inside our bodies? Because do you know you make alcohol in your body? You going to say that they're different? When scientists identify them, the very same thing they use to identify vitamin A in foods is the same science that they use to make it for pills. How are they different? If a chemist can't tell the difference in the lab, it's not different in your body. Don't fool yourself. If you decide to go with that made up thing that is totally anti-scientific, you're going to have a bad time. And you're going to come back and go, Dr. Smith, you were right. There is no difference. And I'm going to add something here. So Accutane and Retin-A, folks, tretinoin, isotretinoin and tretinoin, folks, you guys are the hardest to fix. We have the longest time to fix you. You have the most damage because you took the most concentrated and most toxic form of vitamin A. Now I'm going to say I've took me a while to come to this decision, if you want to call it that. People who eat tons of liver, you're next in line in terms of the hardest to fix. So if you're watching this and you're a liver eater and you're just like, this guy's full of it, whatever, I eat liver, I'm 21, I feel great. I have people who were just like you in the program now. And they are the second hardest to fix after Accutane and Retin-A people. Why? Probably because you poison yourself with vitamin A and copper and manganese and all the other toxic crap that's in the livers. Do you actually think there's clean cows out there? Do you actually think, would you actually look at anybody today and be like, this person is totally clean? If they live in a westernized country, they're not clean. So do you think cows in those areas are clean too? just because they're organic or just because they're grass-fed? No, they're not. So, but we do the best we can. If those of you who are out there thinking, well, does Dr. Smith saying I can't eat beef? No, I didn't say that. And don't come back at me with that. Everybody's got to eat. The fastest way to death and sickness is to starve yourself. Right? You take in nothing. And I mean overdoing it. I'm not totally against fasting. But if you don't pay attention to your fasting, yes, you can mess yourself up with fasting. Yes. So I saw that. I think it was Ramon. There he is. There's Ramon. Let me see. So thank you very much for that super chat, Mina. I'm just going to double check. I'm scrolling through here again just to make sure I didn't miss super chats because I have a problem with that. My computer will like hop over them. Okay. Here we go. Ramon, my super chatter every week. He says, my 14-year-old son has a very strong drowsy type allergic reaction for all incense scents, especially sage. Any reasons for this? Happy Easter. Thanks. Yes, well, happy Easter to everybody. So, well, an allergic reaction, I want you to think about this. So when we talk about seasonal allergies, pollen, what color is pollen? It's very yellowish or orangish. What color would we associate that with? Carotenoids. You can go look up pollen and carotenoids. There's lots of carotenoids in pollen. So now let me draw a parallel to that. Let's say smoking cigarettes, right? People who smoke regularly have a lot of allergic symptoms, do they not? They're sniffly, they got mucus, they're coughing up mucus, it's not good. But would anybody say that they're allergic to cigarettes? No. Somebody would say, no, you're smoking poison. You're inhaling poison. Okay. Smoke is generally toxic. So those of you who are out there smoking your meats and you're just putting smoke all over the outside of it, they're called combustion byproducts. And it's not good. People who live around fires all the time, even if it's just wood fires, they get lung problems. Those of you who have been camping know this, right? You sit by the fire too long and you get crap in your lungs. Burnt stuff is bad. So anyway, then you go home after, whether you're at a campfire or whether you're out in the bars, if you go to places where they smoke cigarettes and you're coughing up black crap out of your nose, out of your mouth, right? Blackish, grayish mucus. So we know that that's a poisonous reaction, right? Your body makes mucus to both catch the poisons as they come in and also to carry them so that then you can cough or sneeze them or blow them out. What do you think a sneeze is? A sneeze is your body's trying to expel something. Weird that it would happen with pepper, and pepper's full of mold toxins. Spices in general, right? Your body's like, get this crap out of here if you breathe it in your nose. So it's a toxic reaction with cigarettes, right? So pollen getting up into your nose. What color's pollen? Well, it's yellow or orangish. Could seasonal allergies simply be a toxicity reaction? Weird that in that episode two episodes ago, where I go over how allergies are caused by vitamin A, especially in youth, what if you prime the system with vitamin A toxicity? And so the system starts going, vitamin A is bad. If I get it in my nose, I'm going to induce an allergic reaction to try to get it out. Your watery eyes. Why would your eyes get watery? What are you trying to wash out of your eyes? Vitamin A I've been over this. Vitamin A is in your saliva. It's in your eye fluid. It's in every single fluid of your body. We have people who stain their white bed sheets yellow. They have that much toxicity coming out of them. What color is bile if you throw it up? It's yellow. Yellow is toxins. So seasonal allergies might just be a vitamin A toxicity reaction to yellow pollens. So I was thinking about this other day and I went, another thing that people are allergic to is dander, right? Dander. Skin. that is coming off of animals, right? Which would almost be like dandruff on a human, right? On our hairy spots, some of us start flaking off skin. And as I've been over here before, a lot of times when people get skin issues, particularly if it's associated with neurodegenerative diseases, they get skin issues on their head, seborrheic dermatitis, eczema, whatever. They get it on their head. And if you look at the color of these skin issues, it's often yellow. And I have been over in a previous episode about how skin issues are almost always, if they test it for vitamin A, it's almost always high in vitamin A, higher than the other skin, eczema, psoriasis, all these things. So we have neurodegenerative diseases. If you several episodes back, I went over Alzheimer's and its connection to neurodegenerative diseases and Alzheimer's connection to vitamin A. And we often see scalp issues. So I went and I looked up dandruff. And so I couldn't find any evidence of yellow. Nobody said dander was yellow. But if we do kind of an extension to dandruff, I found multiple cases where they said dandruff can be white. The skin can be white or yellow. Remember the Brit? They said he took too much vitamin A and he died with his skin being yellow. So get this. What if the cat allergy or the dander allergy was really just vitamin A, yellow? Well, it doesn't have to be yellow, but what if it's enough vitamin A in the skin of the pet that is coming off in the air and people are breathing it in, it gets stuck in their nose and they're having a toxicity reaction to the vitamin A that's in those skin flakes. I am at the point now where I do not believe allergies are just the immune system not functioning right. It's a toxicity reaction. That's the only thing that makes sense. Oh, my immune system's broken. No, it's not broken. It's toxic. The immune system is mainly there to find and isolate and bring toxins to the liver, into the lymph nodes, and then also to the liver. The lymph nodes are your sewage system. So why is your immune system there? Because it's taking out the garbage. The less you start to think of your immune system as like the defense your immune system does for your body is finding toxins and moving them where they need to go. It's a totally different aspect because we're not in the war mentality. We are not at war with our own bodies. That's what they want you to be. Fight it. Take these weaponized herbs and weaponized pharmaceutical compounds and attack it. And then just hope that the fallout and the friendly fire doesn't kill you. So, Ramon, now that we come back around to your question, your 14-year-old son has a very strong drowsy type allergic reaction for all incense scents, especially sage. So not only do we have burnt stuff going into the air, we have, what are they going to use for incense? Smelly stuff. Strong smelling things are toxic. So your son is having a toxicity reaction to these things. Essential oils are toxic, folks. If you don't know this already, they're not essential and they're toxic chemicals. Don't use essential oils unless you know what you're doing and you're using them for a very short period of time. And no, I don't care what the MLM people who have bought into the whole thing say. I don't care. Most of them couldn't present hardly any research at all on any of it to me. And it would all be short term if it was. You don't see any long-term studies on essential oils. Essential oils are giving drug-like effects. Hey, what's another thing that drug-like effects have with them? Side effects, toxicity effects. So actually, let's just go sage. Let's just see if there's any aldehydes in sage. No, but I'll just read all these fun chemicals. Sage, Salvia officinalis leaf contains tannins, salvia tannin, essential oils, including alpha-thujone, beta-thujone, 1,8-cineol, and camphor, flavones, phenolic acids, phenolic acids, phenylpropanoid glycosides, triterpenoids. Hey, do you know that carotenoids are a terpenoid molecule? Triterpenoids and diterpenes. So, yeah. In general, sage is well tolerated with occasional nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, dizziness, agitation, and wheezing. Thujone and camphor are both neurotoxic in high doses. This is the sage entry on the NIH, or wait, it's in the drugs and lactation database. So, if we were to look at those symptoms, nausea is bile going the wrong way back up into your stomach. Vomiting is even more bile going up into your stomach, so much that your body says, I would rather vomit this out than try to get it to go back down. Abdominal pain. Well, gosh, if you had too much toxic bile in your guts, what would happen? You might feel pain. Dizziness. You leak bile into your bloodstream, it goes and affects your brain, and you could get dizzy. Agitation. Well, again, agitation would tend to go along with a unhappy liver and possibly toxic bile going back up to your brain, and wheezing. When bile gets around your lungs, you start getting lung issues. And then they say thujone and camphor, which are both in sage, are both neurotoxic in high doses. So, what is your son's body trying to do with his drowsy type allergic reaction? It's being affected by the toxins, and he's trying to expel it. One of the things people don't get about bile is that they're like, well, this herb says it dumps more bile. That means it's toxic. How does your body get rid of poisons? How would your body love to get rid of poisons first? Through the bile. If the bile goes the wrong direction, where did you just put those poisons it's trying to expel? Into your bloodstream or into your stomach or all the other places that bile can leak to. But once it's in your bloodstream, it can go everywhere and cause anything. But we can see the very obvious ones with like the nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain. If only they had added diarrhea, then we'd have like the quad easy symptoms of bile going the wrong way. But yes, I would not be. I mean, incense people think it smells nice, but it's not doing you any favors. You're just breathing in burnt. Let's go see here. Combustion by products, PubMed. Let's see if this is a good one. Breathing burnt things is generally bad. Let's see. So we have a whole, let me see what I can find here. Combustion byproducts and their health effects. Summary of the 16th International Congress. Let's go down to the conclusion. This is like a discussion of their discussion. This is garbage. Sorry. Let me find something else. I love it when they just talk about, here's why what we're doing is important. It's like, okay, get to the meat. They keep saying like big general, and we're talking about their health effects. And I'm like, just list them. Come on. Let's see if this is the same one. Health effects of combustion byproducts. This is 20 years old, and they still won't put just a simple list in the abstract, so I can get to it quick. No, I'd have to go over through each one of these. But what do they cover here on combustion byproducts? Let's just go over the major categories. They talk about organic compounds. Not that that means organic, like organic, as in organic food. They mean carbons, hydrogens, and oxygens. I believe it's oxygens. Maybe oxygen's not in there. I know it's carbons and hydrogens and organic compounds. So, metals, like toxic metals, or maybe metals that you don't realize are toxic, like copper and manganese, chlorinated hydrocarbons, aerosols. I'm going to guess that essential oils would fit into one of those. So, aldehydes, they didn't put in aldehydes. But yes, combustion byproducts generally don't breathe things that are burning. It's generally a good idea. Let's see. Let's see. Come on. I want to find stuff on wood just to show people that, like, the science of wood combustion. I don't want that. Nah, I'm not going to find it. I'm not going to waste any more time on that. Sorry, not finding what I wanted to quick. And when I'm doing this live research, sometimes I don't find what I'm looking for quick. Simple thing. Don't breathe burning things. And don't breathe smelly burning. Don't breathe things that are designed to put out smells when they're burned. And then don't breathe those things in an enclosed area. What is a common thing that people are often doing to poison themselves? And I'm not saying you're doing this, Ramon. People will like to, let's say, pot smokers. They're out there. I'm giving information here. I'm not judging. They're in a closed room, breathing combustion byproducts. They're burning pot to smoke it, right? And vaping is not any better, folks. If you haven't seen the research on the toxic metals in the vape coil, you think the Chinese companies that are manufacturing this actually care about your health? Or do you think they might be putting extra toxic metals in there? Who knows? But the vaping is absolutely awful. But so even if you're doing normal smoking, you're breathing in combustion byproducts. And then what are they doing oftentimes to hide the smell or to cover up the smell? They're using burned incense. So they're just breathing in all these toxic byproducts, one of which is purposely designed to affect the brain. And I'm not going to find the research right now, but there was a paper I found where they showed that CBD and THC both increase the storage of vitamin A into the liver. One of the ways that, let's say, marijuana could relieve your symptoms, it's not making anything go away. It's storing it's taking some of the toxins out of the blood and shoving them into the liver. They'll come out later. They didn't go anywhere. Weed does not increase your detox. Let's put it that way. It's not speeding up your detox. Now, this is coming from a man who was the medical director of a marijuana dispensary here in town for 10 or 12 years. So I'm never been against herbal medicine. Now I'm more about people understanding that it should be used short term, if at all. We want to go after the root cause. I'm not against herbal medicine entirely. It's a heck of a lot better than pharmaceuticals. but it's also not as strong because they designed pharmaceuticals based on plant compounds. Like 70% of drugs are based on plant compounds. So if drugs are toxic, what does that make the plant compounds that they were based on? Less toxic. Still toxic, less toxic. Still shut down, detox. Milk thistle slows down cytochromes. St. John's wort slows down cytochromes. This is how these things work. So let me go look. See if there's any more super chats, and then we'll get to. We are at 9:30, so I'm not going to have a lot of. So Ramon, I hope that you find that answer suitable. It sucks. I mean, a lot of the things that we use today to make ourselves feel better, or we like the smell of them, or whatever, they're not good for us. And maybe they weren't a big deal a long time ago, but here's again, we don't live in our grandparents' world. We are the accumulation of the generations before us, especially the damage. So let's go. Simon asks, can lactoferrin improve iron status? Simple answer is yes, and that's in the research in many places. I have low serum iron, low iron saturation, normal ferritin, but I also have chronically low ceruloplasmin and copper. Curious how you approach iron issues. This is going to sound kind of trite, but we fix the liver to fix iron issues. You sound very much like an under pattern. I have shown the infamous chicken ceruloplasmin study. So one of the things in the research that you can find under vitamin A toxicity, hypervitaminosis A, is you can find anemia. Okay. But you can also find in the research that vitamin A increases iron absorption. We can see this. This is the part where people who their minds have trouble opening up enough is they want to know, well, if I have iron deficiency anemia, I obviously can't have vitamin A toxicity because that causes iron overload. And then the iron overload people say the exact opposite. It can cause the same thing. The same toxin can cause wildly different presentations. So this is why people like, I don't know the protocol, people are so confused because they're out there donating blood all the time to try to bring their ferritin down, but they're also shoving down tons of vitamin A, which is increasing their iron absorption, and taking lots of copper. And when I get them, they're disasters. When they finally figure out that copper is not the answer, that it's actually a toxin, they've made themselves worse, and they find me, we start undoing it. But let me find the vitamin A. Let me go into the network. There was a study they did in chickens. On ceruloplasmin. There it is. Josh Getzko, who is amazing and a big help in this area. Wait, I didn't want that link. I want this. So the paper is called The Effect of Vitamin A on Copper, Iron, and Zinc in Chicks. Effects. Copper, iron, zinc. Find it. Now we have the PDF in the Love Your Liver program. This is not going to have the whole PDF, so I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you the gist of it. They put chickens on 3 different vitamin A diets. They had some on a very low vitamin A diet. They had some on a very high vitamin A diet, and they had the other ones on a mid-range. Now, out there in the protocol world, they say that ceruloplasmin is, you need vitamin A to make ceruloplasmin based on a study of retinoic acid, all trans retinoic acid. Synthetic all trans retinoic acid on a cell study. Interesting. And yet they say that natural vitamin A from cod liver oil is what you need, and that does the same thing. So are they saying they're the same thing? Basically, they are. But then they're the first ones who will say, when they saw the chicken study, they're like, well, that was synthetic vitamin A. It doesn't count. Well, the whole ceruloplasmin idea that they go on, there's one study in cells showed that all trans-retinoic acid, also known as retin A, so they were using synthetic tretinoin, retin A, on cells, and they saw that ceruloplasmin production went up. You have me saying a thing called the duration paradox, which is that things in the cell studies that you see for like vitamin A and copper and all that stuff, in the real world, in real people or real whole animals, you will see over time the exact opposite. So if in the cell studies you saw it raise ceruloplasmin, in whole bodies, whole animals, over time, you will see decreased. This is an extremely important concept. So what do we see in the chicken study? Which of the chickens had the highest ceruloplasmin at the end of the study? The ones who got the lowest vitamin A. Interesting. Isn't that exactly what I just said about the duration paradox? So let's say you have low ceruloplasmin, which means that copper is even more toxic in you because ceruloplasmin is a binding protein that is made by the liver to bind to copper to protect you from free copper floating around and oxidizing the crap out of everything it touches. Ceruloplasmin is a protective protein. Same thing with retinol binding protein. Retinol binding protein is not made to escort vitamin A around to your tissues so it can be used. No, it's a binding protein to protect you from free retinol, which is extremely toxic. And people start to realize that retinol is toxic when they talk about people are putting retinol creams on their faces. And a lot of people say, this just ruins my face. Makes it, dries it out. It's not good. Well, that's free retinol. Okay. So ceruloplasmin is important because it protects you from toxic copper. So if you have low iron and low, your ferritin's actually, I like ferritin between 30 and 70. So your ferritin of 80 is actually slightly high for where I want it. So what does that mean? That puts you in the category of what's called iron dysregulation, which means you have some markers of iron that are high and some markers of iron that are low. Now you talk to most practitioners out there and they go, how do you fix that? And they go, I don't know. We'll decide which one's more important, then we'll give you something to try to artificially raise that. It's all rooted in the liver. We can fix iron dysregulation by fixing the liver. That's what we do. And then your liver, think of it this way. We are creations of God. God did all this designing. We have figured out that the liver, we here have figured out that helping the liver can help just about everything. Do I know people want to know, people want me to write some basic article on the liver's functions and what it does. And I'm like, I don't honestly see how that moves all this forward. We need to know the things we need to do to fix the liver. We don't want to put in things that strain the liver harder. Like as an example, in that allergy testimonial where he was taking allergy shots for 6 years, that did not help. Now I know 2020 hindsight is perfect, right? Hindsight is 2020, as they say. If after the first year or 2 or 3 it wasn't working, what should he have done in this paradigm? Stop doing them. It's not helping. Stop taking herbs or supplements or medications that aren't helping the very thing you're taking them for, right? If they're not helping, why take them? All they're doing is adding a stress to your liver, right? If we test for things that we know you need, like zinc, this is going to be a slower fix. It's not something we're looking for like immediate results because this is foundational. This is not a quick fix. Generally, the things that you take where you feel boom, like some amazing rush or like your day is immediately different, if it's not an essential nutrient, If it's some herbal supplement or a medication or whatever, and all of a sudden everything's different, you need to think about, what did that just do? Because it's not an essential nutrient, which means it had a drug-like effect. I had a buddy tell me when he took antibiotics, the eczema on his legs went away. And he felt so much better energy. Well, around here, what do we say eczema is coming out of the skin? It's bile and it's toxic vitamin A. And his brain was working better and he just had more energy. Well, what could affect all of those things very quickly that antibiotics can do? It damages the liver. It slows down your bile production. He stopped making so much bile. He stopped leaking bile into his bloodstream. So the less bile in his bloodstream affected his brain less. He had better energy and his eczema went away. What happened when the effect of the antibiotics on the liver faded away? Eczema came back. Energy problems came back. Brain fog stuff came back. It didn't go anywhere. What can antibiotics also do? It can change your gut biome. What does your gut biome do if it's bad? What does it do to your bile? It makes it more toxic by making secondary bile acids, which then leak into your blood and then damage the liver further and then go into your bloodstream and cause problems. We've been over that. If you haven't seen the toxic bile theory, the best video on that, that's 71 of the live streams. So how I would approach iron issues, I don't start with lactoferrin. We start with all the other minerals first. We start with the diet first. We start with the minerals first. I don't just look at your labs and go, we do this and this and this. The iron stuff is actually kind of secondary. Other than if somebody tells me I feel better when I eat lots of red meat and they have low iron stuff, then I'm probably going, you should eat more iron. If somebody has high ferritin and they go, I don't feel good when I eat lots of red meat, I'd say eat less red meat then. But you can have people with high ferritin who say they don't feel good if they don't eat red meat. Like they need red meat to feel better. What am I going to do? Take away their red meat and make them feel bad? That's not how we work. Now, your pattern, Simon, you sound like an undertype, which we have a whole article on that in the Love Your Liver program. Undertypes tend to have low patterns. And I would guess, I'm not going to get into it, but I would guess that you tend towards being underweight. And that's part of the pattern too. Things are stuck in your liver. In undertypes, my theory, this is a theory, is that things are not coming out of your liver very well. They're getting stuck in the liver. And you may not be making much bile because things are getting stuck. That's how the bile gets out. That's my theory, but you're not my client. And but I just wanted to use your question there as kind of an example. But we fix iron problems all the time. And I don't try to fix iron problems. I don't have people taking calcium with their meals. I don't have people eating polyphenols. That's for damn sure. I don't do any of that stuff. And if you're out there working with me and you're reading the internet for things to do to reduce your ferritin or whatever, don't. But lactoferrin means it's an iron transporting protein. Lactoferrin is made by your body. We use dairy lactoferrin. So happy to have it back. We use dairy lactoferrin because it's the easiest to get and it's not expensive like camel lactoferrin would be. That's why camel milk was so popular, folks. It's 90% similar to human lactoferrin, and there's a ton of it in camel milk. The only problem with camel milk is you got to drink all the other stuff that's in there too. Oh, and camel milk is actually very low in vitamin A. Weird. Isn't this a weird coincidence that people would be saying it's a health food? Low in vitamin A, high in lactoferrin. The most similar lactoferrin mammal milk to human lactoferrin. Now, lactoferrin is in all the body fluids. And it is made by the epithelial cells and neutrophils of the immune system. Epithelial cells are the cells that line all your tissues, all your organs. They are the outside lining of everything. Like they're the inside lining of the blood vessels. They're the outside lining of your liver. They're the inside lining of the bile ducts. Epithelial cells make lactoferrin, and so do the neutrophils of the immune system. Do you know I've found research showing that vitamin A toxicity damages the epithelial cells, and that why vitamin A causes so many skin problems. And vitamin A reduces the number of neutrophils. So why do we see in people with vitamin A toxicity that they do well taking some lactoferrin from outside commonly? Because they haven't been making it very well themselves. Now, lactoferrin, if you all don't know, it's strong. The stuff we use is very, very strong. Some people can't handle it in the early phases. Some people can only take a couple grains of it out of a capsule. Do not jump in at a full capsule. Please read the instructions on the bottle of our lactoferrin. There's a link. It takes you to a page on my website that tells you how to start slowly, very slowly. And if you decide not to listen to that, and you take the lactoferrin and you dump a ton of bile and you don't feel good, you just decide to jump in at one capsule because you're honestly, because you're too lazy to open a capsule and measure it out, and you don't feel good, that's not my fault. That's not what I told you to do. That's not why I put a website link on the bottle. Here I am warning you not to take too much of my supplement because I care. Right? But lactoferrin, it can fix high iron, it can fix low iron. It can, but you gotta respect the heck out of it. For those of you who took it and got your ass kicked by it, if you want to comment in the chat or below, just please state that maybe you jumped in a little too fast before you talk about what it did. Lactoferin's amazing. When I got it back, when we finally got our stuff back, I actually just ordered another batch because it's selling so fast that if it keeps selling at this rate, like we can't have another shortage of it like we did because of supply chain stuff. So we actually just ordered a whole nother batch, even though we just got 800 bottles. I think more than a quarter of it's already gone. But I started taking it again, and I didn't realize I had taken for granted all the things that it had done for me. And as soon as I got back on it, I started getting more done with work. I started going to the gym more. I had better energy. It was crazy. Over the 2 months I didn't have it, I didn't realize. Like I said, I took it for granted. We all take things for granted. But when I got it back, within 4 or 5 days, I realized all the great stuff it had been doing for me. And yeah, good stuff. So Sam, in the November 13th, 2019 video of Accutane injuries and side effects, you mentioned that you had specific things to help with Accutane-induced sexual side effects. What are those? I don't remember exactly what I would have been referring to, but one of the big things, well, gentlemen, and this could potentially help ladies too, because, we are of a similar design, not the same, but we are of a similar design. Folate, not folic acid. If you take folic acid, you're not doing it right. And am I talking about methyl tetrahydrofolate here? No, those aren't the ones I like. But folate in isotretinoin and Accutane studies has been shown to help with certain symptoms of post-Accutane users like depression and high homocysteine. If you haven't seen on this channel, vitamin A has been shown to consistently raise homocysteine and lower folate and lower B12. I have a video on this channel going over the research on it. Vitamin A will increase your homocysteine, which is associated with an increased risk of heart disease, and it will lower your folate and lower your B12. Well, it just so happens. So there's papers out there on Accutane and folate. And if you want to know, if somebody says, well, what kind of folate do you like, Dr. Smith? Folinic acid, or it's also sold as calcium folinate. Folinic acid or calcium folinate. That is how it will be on the label. And before anybody worries about, oh my gosh, there's calcium in it, Dr. Smith, there's calcium in the foods you eat too. And we're talking about micrograms. The folate part of it is micrograms. So we're talking about micrograms of calcium. We're not even talking about a milligram. Okay. Calcium folinate or folinic acid. I'm not giving you amounts. You're not clients of mine. You want that. But so I go in the research and let me go find. Uh, but there is research out there. Just trust me. You can go and look it up. Isotretinoin and folate or folic acid. They always talk about folic acid. Don't take folic acid. And if you're doing the program and you're eating lots of grains and beans and stuff, you probably don't have a folate problem. But if you've done Accutane, you might need a little more. So here's a paper. So for those of you who don't know, this will be the last question I get to unless somebody throws up a super chat. For those of you who don't know, erectile dysfunction and other sexual dysfunctions are very, very common in post-Accutane victims. They're really Accutane survivors and post-Accutane victims. So sexual side effects are huge in people like this. And they're giving it to our youth. Sexual side effects would really reduce fertility rates. And I mean, isn't the reason why people would take it so they could look better, which in theory is part of the whole sexual game that we humans play? So they want to look better. So in theory, that's a whole sexual thing. Even if you're talking about teenagers, I mean, isn't that's why parents don't want their kid to be an outcast and not liked by people, or definitely not able to find a mate, right? I mean, think of evolutionary biology, evolutionary psychology, right? So this drug, it's kind of like birth control pills, right? Birth control pills were taken, they were created so women could theoretically have sex without getting pregnant. Okay. But one of the funniest things about birth control pills, they raise copper and vitamin A in the blood, but they also make women have much less libido. Well, that would affect fertility, would it not? And then it leaves them poisoned with copper afterwards and vitamin A. Well, how do they make women infertile with an IUD that's made of copper? So, sexual side effects of Accutane. Erectile dysfunction. Well, here, so we already went over vitamin A, which vitamin A lowers folate. Here's a paper. Serum folic acid and erectile dysfunction, a systematic review and meta-analysis. What do you think we're going to find? Conclusion. This novel meta-analysis demonstrated that folic acid was an independent risk factor for erectile dysfunction, and folic acid supplement may have potentially positive effects in the treatment of erectile dysfunction patients. So here we go. So what they did was they found that generally the erectile dysfunction patients had lower folate in their blood, right? So we find, so the correlation is not causation. People will be like, well, this correlation is not causation. But then let's say we were to go and find a study where they gave people folic acid. So we look at the blood and they say folic acid is lower in the blood of folks with erectile dysfunction. Okay. And the correlation is not causation. I mean, that has some legitimacy in this situation. But what then if we can go find a study where they gave people folate and the erectile dysfunction improved? Is that not enough? Well, so let's go here. Folic acid supplementation improves erectile function in patients with idiopathic vasculogenic erectile dysfunction by lowering peripheral and penile homocysteine plasma levels, a case control study. So it improved erectile dysfunction. Did I put that link in there? Here, let me put the first link in there. me put the second link. Okay. So you have a history of knowing that vitamin A lowers folate. Accutane lowers folate. Vitamin A toxicity, which could be caused by food or medications, lowers folate. We look at the studies and we find that, and Accutane and vitamin A toxicity can cause erectile dysfunction. And then we look and we find that lower folic acid levels in the blood, that's what they measure. That's not what you should take. Lower folic acid levels in the blood are associated with more erectile dysfunction. And then a study where they gave people folic acid and the erectile dysfunction improved. I mean, what is can I do any better than that? I can't. I'm not doing studies myself. I just go and I put the stuff together. So, and could this help ladies with some of their function? Yes, folate deficiency is associated with certain neurological conditions. This is a neurological condition, right? That's sexual function is a neurological condition. So, could it help? Sure. If you go and take a crap ton of folinic acid or calcium folinate and you don't get now let's go into erectile dysfunction and other sexual dysfunctions can be caused by all sorts of things. This is a potential nutritional component of it. Now, you guys hear me talk about aldehyde dehydrogenase a lot, right? Here, let me go do this. Folate aldehyde dehydrogenase. Oh, by the way, let's go into this one other thing. So the term whiskey dick. Those of you who have not heard of it, I believe the scientific term is alcohol-induced erectile dysfunction. Okay, so alcohol, ethanol, can induce erectile dysfunction. What is vitamin A? What class of compound is it in? Oh, it's an alcohol, and it depletes folate. And ethanol is also an alcohol. And if you didn't know already, one of the biggest nutritional deficiencies that excess alcohol consumption causes is a folate deficiency. Weird that alcohol can cause an acute erectile dysfunction problem that is specifically associated with too much of it in your system. What causes the problems of ethanol in the system? Well, it's acetaldehyde. Ethanol turns into acetaldehyde, which then has to go through what enzyme, folks? Aldehyde dehydrogenase. You know it's coming. Here's a paper. FDH, an aldehyde dehydrogenase fusion enzyme in folate metabolism. Interesting. Let's find more. Aldehyde dehydrogenase homologous, as in like the same as folate enzymes. Okay. All I typed in was folate aldehyde dehydrogenase. And we went over before about Alzheimer's disease and aldehyde dehydrogenase and how all your neurotransmitters turn into aldehydes. And then if you can't break down those aldehydes, the aldehydes sit in your brain and cause degeneration. Well, here we go. The association between folate and Alzheimer's disease. And that was a pretty clear paper showing that lower folate intake over time correlated with Alzheimer's disease. Well, what do we know vitamin A depletes? What do we know alcohol depletes? It depletes folate. What if you need folate to run certain aldehyde dehydrogenases? Let's look at this one. Role of aldehyde dehydrogenases, alcohol dehydrogenase 1B genotype, alcohol consumption, and their combination in breast cancer in East Asian women. Well, I found that paper because it mentioned folate. So let's just go search through that one for Let's see. Well, I think it actually took me to another paper, and it's not found. That's great. So let's get back into here. Well, here's a paper: folate, alcohol, and aldehyde dehydrogenase 2 polymorphism. Are you seeing the pattern here? Folate, alcohol, and aldehyde dehydrogenase 2 polymorphism and the risk of oral and pharyngeal cancer in Japanese. Because 50% of the Asian population has a genetic issue with their ALDH enzymes. They have low ALDH. This is why Asian folks have, it's commonly called the Asian glow or the Asian flush. It can happen to anybody. It's just that the highest concentration of this genetic issue is in Asian folks. 50% of Asians have this genetic polymorphism where their ALDH does not function as fast. Okay. So here we have, let's see. We observed an inverse association between folate consumption and oral and pharyngeal cancer risk. The odds ratio for high folate intake was 0.53 relative to low intake. This association was consistent across strata of sex, age, smoking, and ALDH2 genotypes. So that means even this association, higher folate intake, was associated with less cancer, whether somebody had the ALDH2 genetic problem or not. Interaction between folate consumption, drinking, and ALDH2 genotype was remarkable as a three-way interaction. We observed significant interaction among folate, drinking, and ALDH2 genotype in the Japanese population. So, slow ALDH would mean a person accumulates what? Aldehydes. Higher pharyngeal, oral and pharyngeal cancer in Japanese has been found with those who have the genetic polymorphism to break down ALDH slower. They have a slow ALDH enzyme. Folate seems to interact with aldehyde dehydrogenase. Let's go into one other thing. They're trying to work on a male contraceptive now, a pill that you can take, men can take to decrease their sperm production. Do you know what enzyme this is designed to affect, this drug? It's designed to slow ALDH. So weird. So then they'll say, what they say in the research is they're like, we found that retinoic acid is necessary to make sperm. So they're trying to say that you need Accutane and retin-A to make sperm, guys. They're trying to say you need that. It's a crock. But they do it by slowing down ALDH. If you slow down ALDH, what do you build up in your system? Aldehydes. What might be causing the sperm to not be made? Could it be an accumulation of aldehydes in your testes, guys? So this just came to my head. What if we go and look up folate and sperm? Because if folate may help with aldehyde dehydrogenase, we should find an association between folate and sperm, should we not? Okay. Let's see what we got here. They keep trying zinc and folate together. Let's see. The association of folate, zinc, and antioxidant intake with sperm aneuploidy in healthy non-smoking men. I did not look at this one before I'm putting it up here. See if we can find anything good in it. So let's just make sure we define what is, let me just look it up just so I can say it correctly. Aneuploidy. Let's go look up what aneuploidy is so we know exactly what it is for everybody. Aneuploidy definition: the condition of being aneuploid, the state of possessing chromosome numbers that is not an exact multiple of the haploid number. Number two, an abnormality involving a chromosome number that is not an exact multiple of the haploid number. One chromosome set is incomplete. Aneuploidy occurs when the number of chromosomes a cell has doesn't equal 46. Okay? This is not a normal thing. Okay? So let's just look here. The conclusion: men with high folate intake had lower overall frequencies of several types of aneuploid sperm. And only folate was found with that. Zinc intake was not found with that. None of the antioxidants were found with that. So, am I saying, so people sometimes get confused on my B vitamin stance. B vitamins are antidotes to toxicity. What am I saying that these problems are associated with? Toxicity, aldehyde toxicity. Folate may help run ALDH. Alcohol compounds, including retinol and ethanol, deplete folate. Boy, are those toxins? Yeah. So we now have research showing that folate levels correspond to erectile dysfunction, and that supplementation seemed to help erectile dysfunction in some people. Now, you still need to fix zinc. You still need to fix selenium. You still need to fix molybdenum. You still need to fix magnesium. You still need to fix potassium. You still need to avoid putting poisons in, especially avoiding things like aldehydes, right? If you've got an aldehyde problem and you're breathing in or eating things that are full of aldehydes, like, I don't know, cinnamon, which is 95% cinnamaldehyde, 70 to 95% cinnamaldehyde. Vanillin is an aldehyde. Cuminaldehyde. They name the aldehydes after the spice, folks. Don't want to be putting in alcohol because that turns into acetaldehyde. Don't want to be putting in vitamin A. Don't want to be putting in foods that contain methanol or formaldehyde because that's just loading on your aldehydes. And then you need to, so we now have evidence that folate seems to be very involved in aldehyde function. Selenium is necessary for aldehyde dehydrogenase function. Selenium is very necessary for aldehyde dehydrogenase function. Molybdenum is very necessary for aldehyde dehydrogenase function. What if folate is a major nutritional C word, rhymes with pure, for erectile dysfunction? And hold on. I also did some other research with it. Here's a paper. Folic acid supplementation as adjunctive treatment to premature ejaculation. And guys would be interested in this? Therefore, we hypothesize that folic acid supplementation may cure premature ejaculation by the same mechanism of interacting with monoamine neurotransmitters in the brain to be the replacement of SSRIs. because Prozac and those other things can cause you to not be able to ejaculate, guys. But they're saying folate acts on a similar part of the metabolism. Folic acid supplementation cures premature ejaculation more safely. So this is more of this is in medical hypotheses. This is not, they did not give folate here. Wait, let me open that back up so I don't lose it. Here we have the paper, a new potential risk factor in patients with erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation, folate deficiency. Let me put this link in here. So let me just find the part to read so I'm not reading you the whole thing. Serum folic acid concentrations were lower in erectile dysfunction patients than in healthy men. What is CIPE? Hold on. Where's that? Okay, the Chinese CIPE means Chinese Index of Premature Ejaculation. Okay. There were positive correlations between serum folic acid concentrations and CIPE scores. I don't know if a CIPE score is good, like a high score is good, or a bad score is good. Let me see. So they were saying there were positive correlations between serum folic acid concentrations and CIPE scores, IIEF5 scores, which is another premature ejaculation score, and IELT, which is, do they say it? IELT. I can't find it right now. I'm not looking up. Negative correlations with homocysteine concentrations were found in all participants. Okay, so that means higher serum folic acid, lower homocysteine. What did we talk about? Raises homocysteine. Vitamin A. These findings showed a strong relationship between serum folic acid levels and sexual dysfunction, possibly due to an effect of folic acid on the metabolism of nitric oxide, homocysteine, and 5-hydroxytryptamine, 5-HT. That was what they were talking about in the other study about SSRIs. And if you haven't seen SSRIs like Prozac, I've gone over this paper before. They specifically inhibit vitamin A detox, which would then build up toxic stuff in your system. So, what if we just found the nutritional connection between premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction, vitamin A toxicity, folate deficiency, whiskey dick, alcohol-induced erectile dysfunction? Wouldn't that be fun? So I will be likely making an article about this for the Love Your Liver program. This is something I want you to know. This is something I was just looking this up. This is one of those research on my phone. Like the only thing I love about my phone is that if I start putting things together in my mind, I can just sit there and just look it up. That's the only thing I like my cell phone about. And this was just a research. It's like the equivalent of a research rant. I was just going down rabbit holes. So that's fun, isn't it? So I got to get to my, I really got to get to my inner circle now. But so if anybody in the Love Your Liver program is wondering, what, Dr. Smith, why haven't you written an article about it? You heard it first here. This is the first place I've talked about this publicly, Love Your Liver program or otherwise. So you just got the scoop. So thank you for joining us. Now, remember, those of you who are here, do not forget, let's say you appreciated that a lot. Don't forget to like the live stream, click out of the chat, X out of the chat, go like the live stream. If you're here later, Make sure to leave a comment. It can be as short as you want. Some people leave a W for win. You could leave an emoji. Don't care. But the more your comment is, the more people will understand, what they're coming to look for or find, or it'll show up more in search engines. So if you want to help this get out to more people, especially you folks, let's say you Accutane folks know about people who are having sexual function problems. Actually, let me go find that. Class action. Sexual. There it is. rxrisk.org. Post-retinoid sexual dysfunction petition. There are long-standing reports of sexual dysfunction linked to the use of isotretinoin, a retinoid drug used in the treatment of acne. And we're giving this to our children? Just want to be sure. Just want to be sure. Not a reason for that. We wouldn't want less fertile children, would we? So they go into this paper. They go on the FAERS, the FDA adverse event reporting system, which is different than VAERS, which is for shots, right? Let's see if this is what I was thinking of. No, that's not. Let me see if I can find it. Where is they have a table. Where they go over the sexual side effects. And they try to say that, for those of you who are out there, they try to say that most of the effects of isotretinoin and Accutane go away after you stop treatment. What a load of BS. They're just lying to people. So yeah, I'm going to put up this PDF here, and they go over the sexual side effects of Accutane. Reported reactions involving isotretinoin sourced from the FDA adverse events research, the database. Erectile dysfunction, libido decreased, gynecomastia, vulvovaginal dryness, loss of libido, sexual dysfunction, dyspareunia, hormone level abnormal, male infertility, penis disorder, ejaculation disorder, testicular pain, vulvovaginal discomfort, vulvovaginal pain, azospermia, anorgasmia, can't have an orgasm, disturbance in sexual arousal, genital pain, libido increased, organic erectile dysfunction, ejaculation failure, genital hypoesthesia. Your junk is numb, basically, or you can't feel as much. Libido disorder, male orgasmic disorder, retrograde ejaculation. The ejaculate is going backwards up the system. Gosh, does that sound like cholestasis? Bile going the wrong way? Testicular atrophy, female orgasmic disorder, inadequate lubrication, orgasm abnormal, orgasmic sensation decreased, penile pain, penile size reduced, female sexual arousal disorder, female sexual dysfunction, genital paresthesia, male sexual dysfunction, Peyronie's disease, which is the bending of the penis, premature ejaculation. Let me just go over this one part here. Within the age group 12 to 17, pretty important time in your sexual development, is it not? Within the age group 12 to 17, isotretinoin was the most reported drug in the FAERS database for the following reactions. Okay, 31 reports, 32% of erectile dysfunction. So that means of the reports they had in this database within this age group, Accutane caused 1/3 of the reports of erectile dysfunction. 11 reports, 27.5% of libido decreased. 5 reports, 38.5% of vulvovaginal dryness. 6 reports, 19.4% of testicular pain. 1 report, which was 100% of the reports of organic erectile dysfunction. 3 reports, which was 75% of retrograde ejaculation. So, remember, that sum of all the vitamin A that you consume or put on your face or whatever, some of it turns into Accutane. 13-cis-retinoic acid. This is not made up science. This is the real deal. Some of it turns into tretinoin, all trans-retinoic acid. Some of it turns into 9-cis. So there's 13-cis-retinoic acid. That's Accutane. All trans-retinoic acid is tretinoin. And then 9-cis-retinoic acid is called alitretinoin, and it's mostly just used as chemotherapy. Like, no big deal, right? They just use it as chemo. Chemo's good for you, right? Chemo's vitamins. Chemo's vitamins. You need chemo. Just put an IV in right now. Those are the real things that vitamin A turns into in your body. Never forget it. Never let anybody else forget it. Do you actually think that the Accutane your body turns vitamin A into is different than the Accutane you take in a pill? It's not. It's just when you take it in a pill, it's harsher on your system. And it causes liver injury faster. Now, for those of you, I saw this question. This is the last question I'm going to answer today. I hope there's no more super chats that snuck in. Let me just check. I think there was one, wasn't there? I love that TJ50 Mag. Really enjoyed all of your words today. I love that compliment. You enjoyed all of my words. That's hilarious. Okay. Yeah, Ryan, I see your super chat. I'm going to get to that. Let me just make sure that nothing else snuck in. I thought I saw one that looked kind of white. Nope. Okay, that must be the last one. So this is the last question. See, I can't help but over deliver. Somebody gets me going on the sexual dysfunction and folate thing. Any advice? Ryan's question, which is super chat. Thank you very much for that, Ryan. Any advice for me? Can't seem to handle a lot of fiber without a ton of gas. Anything I can do to minimize this? Well, first of all, fiber, soluble or not, is not an essential nutrient. Now, I want you to understand what I mean by that. You do not have to eat fiber to live. That doesn't mean it can't help, but it can also cause issues. So, because if we look at carnivores, like all muscle meat carnivores, they don't poop a whole lot. I mean, I was talking to a carnivore the other day. He was like, all muscle meat. He's like, I only pooped once a week, and it wasn't a lot. That's not the way you want things to be, especially if you want to get rid of bile. But still pooped. And one of the things about the all muscle meat carnivore diet is that it is very low in vitamin A and very low in copper and very high in zinc overall. People still probably need more zinc than the only people I ever see who come in okay on zinc are all muscle meat carnivores, but they're also not eating any plant foods with soluble fiber that can help them get rid of bile. So they're just kind of storing up that bile in there. It's just recirculating. So that is the one downfall of it. That is a major downfall, in my opinion. Could they fix it with just supplementing some soluble fiber? Sure. Am I ever going to eat all muscle meat carnivore? No, I'm not. But we have people who are doing well on an all muscle meat carnivore diet and some psyllium. Amazing. We just tweaked the diet a little bit. And they're doing amazing. And they're doing better than when they were on the all muscle meat carnivore diet by themselves. So, a lot of fiber is not necessarily good for everyone. In the Love Your Liver program, I have probiotics articles where I go over putrefactive versus fermentative dysbiosis types and mixed. There's also mixed. I cover another probiotic that I talk about that's a kind of try it and see kind of thing called lactospore. You probably have, if you've done, Ryan, if you were one to have done a lot of ketogenic dieting or carnivore dieting or low carb dieting, you're probably in the you're also a male, so you're probably in the putrefactive side of the dysbiosis. And that can take a little bit to get out, and not everybody needs tons of fiber. The most common thing I'm doing with people who get overzealous on their soluble fiber intake is telling them to eat less of it. Slow down. You're doing too much. Soluble fiber is food for gut bacteria. Could be feeding the wrong type. That toxic bile causes the dysbiosis. The dysbiosis makes secondary bile acids, which then damages the liver, which then makes more toxic bile. So it's this loop. So toxic bile causes a dysbiosis in the gut, and the dysbiosis makes more toxic bile, which then causes more problems. So we need to address it in both ways. One, we make less toxic bile, and you would find that information on how to do that in the Love Your Liver program. Number two, the dysbiosis. If you figure out stuff about your dysbiosis, which I cover in the program, I give you some ways to explore how you can try to push your gut biome in the right direction. Like as an example, a putrefactive type of dysbiosis, when people eat low carb, too low a carb, keto, all carnivore, they absolutely decimate the bifidobacterium population. They just destroy it. It's been shown over and over. Bifido are highest in newborns, and they tend to decrease as we age. What also happens to us as we age? We get more toxic. So if somebody, and so what can feed bifido? Certain types of fiber can feed bifido. Do people need to, if people are not feeding the bifido and they decide to take a bifido supplement, what's it going to do? You're just putting seeds down in a garden that's not going to grow them, right? If you don't feed them, they're not going to stay around. They're going to die. So the gut biome gets fixed by becoming less toxic, making your bile less toxic, and then we can do things to help fix your gut biome. But also by making your bile less toxic, that can also fix the gut biome. So we can address it both ways. That's kind of the way I do all these things, is we go for both of the approaches. Or if there's three approaches, we, like the basics, we take in less poisons, toxins, we facilitate the removal of poisons and toxins that are already stored in us, and we give the body the nutrients that it needs to do the detox and to protect itself from these poisons. That's the whole approach. So that is all I have to. So what can you do to minimize I would get into the program, and then, there's 1,900 plus people in the program. And so the Love Your Liver program, inside the Nutrition Detective Network, now we have over 1,900 people. And thanks to all of you out there, we just passed 4,000 subscribers here on this channel. But you got 1,900 people potentially who could see your question, who may have been in exactly the same situation as you have before. And you can post a comment, and people here in the Love Your Liver Network, they're all on the same journey. We're all trying to get our health to be as good as possible. And they may be able to say, oh, I used to have that issue. Here's what I did. And then you can use that information, kind of crowdsourcing your health answers. And these are people who are doing, I'm kind of the leader, kind of. And there's people who have followed my stuff. Maybe they found other stuff that worked for them that kind of fits within, the general approach ideas that we're doing. And then they can help you out with it. Or you could search the network to see if people have asked these questions before. But yeah, so you here on the live stream, I'm not going to get into detailed answers about that because you're not a client. And if I started doing individualized consultations here, we'd never quit. And we're already over 2 hours. So, but generally for now, it would be, the simple approach would be this: Doc, it hurts when I do this. So if you eat too much fiber and you don't feel good, then don't do that. You're not ready for it now. You don't need that right now. It's counterproductive right now. That may change in the future, but for right now, Doc, it hurts when I do this, then don't do that. If we affect the gut biome positively, if you find that certain fibers work better for you than others, we talk about those soluble fibers and other stuff like that in the network. Some of them may work better for you, and some of them may not. And so this is a journey. If again, I'm just going to say this last thing before I go. For those of you who think that this work of mine and the people who are helping, because we have lots of people helping, this is not a magic, just like with this question. It's not a magic, oh, just do this. Just take this pill. Just take this many milligrams of this. This is not it. This is not what we do. Do not come to the Love Your Liver Network, if you are not willing to put in the work and understand that I am a guide helping you to figure out how to figure out your body and what you need and what agrees with your system. Because, not to use the unique snowflake thing here, but you are a bit of a unique snowflake. And that means that you may not thrive on the same things your brother or your sister does. You may not thrive on the same things as your parents do, because you're a mix of those two people, and those two people may be from very different parts of the world. And you don't know which genetics you got for what. So you have to figure it out, and you have to watch your symptoms. If you want a magic pill to fix all your problems and you just want a dietary prescription, this is not the place. We are doing the work, and people who are here know this. If you are not willing to do the work and watch the videos and read the articles, this is not the place for you. Understand that if you've watched this whole live stream through, imagine how much information I just put out in this program. And then imagine what the Love Your Liver program is. Okay? It's not just do this and everything will go away. I mean, avoiding vitamin A, a lot of it is as simple as that minimizing it, because you can't avoid it. Don't get caught in the trap where people are like trying to do a zero vitamin A diet, because it doesn't exist if you're eating real foods. It does not exist. Even beef has vitamin A in it. No matter what you find on the internet, I can go show you a study on reindeer, wild reindeer, where they measured the vitamin A in the meat, and there was vitamin A in the meat of reindeer. So do you think in cows that are eating grass or cows that are fed, conventional slop, that they add vitamin A to, that they don't have any vitamin A in their meat? No. They got vitamin A in the meat. Don't worry. Why do you think you sometimes get meat at the store that's yellow? Or why is the fat around a heart yellow? There's plenty of vitamin A in there. Don't fool yourself. There's vitamin A in brown rice. There's vitamin A in beans. It's everywhere. It's a plant defense mechanism. We try to find the foods that have the least amounts in it, which funny also tend to be white or off-white or light green. They don't mark themselves with all the poisons like yellows and oranges and reds and purples and blues and dark greens. So no, if you hate eating dark green leafy vegetables, you found your place. Then people are going to be like, but they're high in folate. Plants have to protect themselves from poisons also. There's all these high nutrient foods that aren't on your program, Dr. Smith, because they're full of poisons. And the plants were protecting themselves too. So anyway, that's all I got for today. I got to go do my the inner circle, which is inside the network. If you want to hear more questions and get all your questions answered without having to do a super chat for each one of them, you want to join the Love Your Liver Network and join the inner circle, or the Advanced Detox Network, where you get to watch the inner circle videos a month later. So anyway, my name is Dr. Garrett Smith, the Nutrition Detective. Website's nutritiondetective.com. You can find all the other links down there. I got to remember to put the Spotify one in there. We'll have the iTunes link very soon for those of you who like to listen to podcast style. And I will see you all next week. Hope you found the information useful. Bye now.